Every year, around 2 million people travel to a single city, and within just a few days, they move, together, through a handful of fixed sites barely a few miles apart. It's the largest planned human gathering on the planet, and the logistics behind it are staggering. We're going to look at this through one lens only, and with respect. Not the faith behind it, but the logistics and the economics. How do you move 2 million people in days? What does it cost, and what does it earn? 2 million people, one city, 5 days, every single year. And here's what makes it unlike any other event on Earth, economically. The demand for it doesn't behave like normal demand. It doesn't rise and fall with prices, or recessions, or fashion. It's almost perfectly stable, and that changes everything. So this is the story of the most extraordinary logistics challenge in the world, the unusually steady money behind it, and what that steadiness can teach you about how markets really work. And it begins with a number that the first time you hear it is hard to believe. Start with the scale. In 2025, around 1.67 million people performed this pilgrimage. The vast majority, about 1.5 million, traveled from abroad, from 171 different countries. Think about what that means logistically. Around 1.5 million people arriving from every corner of the world, almost all of them converging on the same small area, within the same narrow window of days. Most arrive by air, in a concentrated wave that turns the country's airports into some of the busiest on Earth for a few weeks, all funneling toward the same destination. And it isn't a one-off, like an Olympics held once a decade in a new city. It happens every single year on exactly the same ground, which means the logistics can't be improvised. They have to be a permanent, refined system. So the challenge isn't just size. It's size plus synchronization plus repetition, plus a fixed location that can never change. Almost no other logistical problem on Earth combines all four. To handle it, Saudi Arabia effectively builds and runs an entire temporary city, one designed to appear, house millions, and stand down again, all within a matter of days. The clearest example sits in a valley called Mina. For most of the year, it's largely empty. But for these few days, it becomes one of the most densely populated places on the planet, a temporary city of tents. This tent city houses well over 1 million people at once, row after row of identical structures laid out in a planned grid with their own roads, services, and emergency systems. A purpose-built settlement that exists for less than a week. Then there's movement. Millions of people need to travel between the fixed sites, repeatedly, on a tight schedule. Do it badly, and you get dangerous crowding. So enormous engineering effort goes into managing how the crowd flows. The solutions are remarkable. Multi-level pedestrian bridges that separate streams of people. One-way routing systems, carefully timed schedules that stagger movement so that not everyone tries to be in the same place at the same instant. And to move people between cities, there's a dedicated high-speed rail line, the Haramain Railway. It can shift tens of thousands of pilgrims an hour between key sites, taking enormous pressure off the roads during the peak. Layer all of this together, the housing, the food and water, the medical care, the crowd routing, the rail, and you have something close to a fully functioning megacity, just one that materializes and then mostly vanishes every year. And the country has every incentive to keep refining it, because this isn't just an obligation it hosts. As we'll see, it's increasingly the centerpiece of a deliberate economic strategy, which brings us to the money. And the money behaves in a way that almost no other tourism market does. To see why, you first have to understand what drives the demand. Here is the economic heart of the whole story. For most travel, demand is fragile. People go on holiday if they can afford it, if the economy feels stable, if a destination is fashionable. Take any of those away, and bookings fall. This demand is different. For those able to undertake it, the Hajj is a religious obligation, a duty ideally performed once in a lifetime. And that single fact transforms the economics completely. Because when something is a duty rather than a choice, price barely matters. A recession doesn't cancel it. It never goes out of fashion. The motivation to come sits almost entirely outside the normal economic forces. Economists have a term for demand that doesn't respond much to price. They call it inelastic. And the demand here is about as inelastic as any in the world. The number who wish to come vastly exceeds the space available, year after year. For anyone running a business, this is close to a dream scenario. Demand that is huge, guaranteed, repeating, and almost completely immune to the economic ups and downs that batter every other tourism market. So the demand is rock solid, which makes the next question simple. Just how much money does this steady, unstoppable flow of people actually generate? Start with what it costs the pilgrims. The price of performing the Hajj varies enormously by where you come from. Depending on origin and package, it can range from around $3,000 to $10,000 per person. Multiply even a modest average across roughly 2 million people, and a single season generates billions of dollars in spending. And the Hajj is only part of it. Throughout the rest of the year, a smaller pilgrimage called Umrah brings millions more visitors to the same holy cities. Together, they form a continuous, year-round stream of religious tourism. Add the two together, and the numbers become substantial. Religious tourism is estimated to earn Saudi Arabia around $12 billion a year, a vast recurring inflow, anchored by that unusually stable demand. And here's what makes that $12 billion so strategically valuable. It accounts for roughly 20% of the country's non-oil revenue and around 7% of its entire economy. A huge share from one source. So Saudi Arabia hasn't just inherited the role of hosting the Hajj. It has begun to see it in economic terms as one of its most reliable and valuable assets, a foundation stable enough to build a future on. And building a future on it is exactly what the country is now doing. Which brings us to one of the most ambitious economic plans anywhere in the world. It's called Vision 2030, a sweeping national plan to reduce the country's dependence on oil, and religious tourism sits close to its heart. The logic is simple. Take that uniquely stable demand and dramatically expand the capacity to serve it. The targets are striking. The plan aims to host up to 30 million Umrah pilgrims and as many as 6 million Hajj pilgrims every year, a massive increase on today's numbers, requiring an equally massive build-out. And the financial goal is just as bold. The aim is to grow the revenue from religious tourism toward around $50 billion a year by the end of the decade, several times what it brings in today. To fund and accelerate it, the country has even opened the door to outside money. In early 2025, it allowed foreign investment access to property in the holy cities for the first time, inviting global capital into the build-out. So an entire economic transformation is being anchored on one thing, not oil, not manufacturing, but the steady, duty-driven arrival of millions of people, year after year, that no recession has ever been able to stop. Which leads to the real lesson here, one that reaches far beyond this single place. The lesson of what genuinely stable demand is worth. In business, the most valuable thing isn't always the biggest market. It's often the most predictable one. Demand you can count on year after year is worth far more than demand that's larger but fragile. Predictable demand lets you invest with confidence. You can build expensive, long-term infrastructure knowing the people will come. The risk that haunts most big projects, that customers won't show up, simply isn't there. That's why a duty-driven gathering can become the bedrock of a national economy in a way an ordinary destination never could. Its value lies not in its size, but in its near-total reliability. So the next time you think about what makes a market valuable, remember this. 2 million people, one city, 5 days. A flow of demand so steady that an entire nation is building its future on top of it. The largest gathering on Earth, the steadiest demand in travel, and an economy being rebuilt quietly on the one thing that never seems to change.